What if I told you that the government could control the weather? You'd probably think it's a wild conspiracy theory, right? Something straight out of a sci-fi movie or a plot for an alien invasion. But what if I told you that weather control isn't just possible? It's something scientists have been working on for decades, and even more surprising, there are patents that prove it. From cloud seeding to electromagnetic manipulation of the atmosphere, the evidence is out there. The real question is, are these just harmless experiments, or could they be used to create devastating disasters? Stay tuned, because this story takes us into the hidden world of weather manipulation, where the skies may not be as natural as they seem. We all like to think that weather is one of those things that's beyond human control, too big, too chaotic for anyone to manipulate. But what if it's not? What if the massive hurricanes, droughts, or even wildfires we see aren't always acts of nature? What if some of them were engineered? In this episode, we're diving deep into the patents, military experiments, and rumors that suggest weather might not be as random as we think. Let's start with something real, something you can look up right now: U.S. patents for weather manipulation. In 1946, scientist Vincent Schaefer discovered cloud seeding, a method to create artificial rain. He found that by dropping dry ice into clouds, he could trigger precipitation. It was a breakthrough that led to numerous weather modification experiments. But cloud seeding is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's take a look at some patents. These aren't just wild theories. These are actual government-approved documents. Patent number 3,688,810, filed in 1969, is titled Weather Modification by Artificial Satellites. This one talks about controlling the weather using satellites to release particles into the atmosphere, changing cloud formation, and even manipulating temperatures. And then there's patent 4,686,605 from 1987, a method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere. This patent describes using electromagnetic radiation to create disturbances in the ionosphere. This technology forms the basis of what many believe to be the infamous HAARP project. If you've heard of weather control conspiracies, you've probably heard of HAARP. HAARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and it's based in Alaska. Officially, it was created to study the ionosphere for communications purposes, but many people believe it's much more than that. The facility is capable of firing high-powered electromagnetic waves into the upper atmosphere, potentially altering weather patterns on a large scale. Some say HAARP can trigger earthquakes, create hurricanes, or even control the jet stream. It sounds crazy until you remember that the patents for this kind of technology exist. But it doesn't end there. Some suggest HAARP is responsible for certain weather-related disasters, including massive hurricanes and strange, unnatural weather patterns. While the U.S. government claims HAARP is nothing more than a scientific research facility, the fact that it was operated by the military for years only fuels the speculation. In 1976, the United Nations passed the Environmental Modification Convention, or ENMOD. This treaty prohibits the military use of environmental modification techniques that could cause widespread damage. But here's the thing. The fact that this treaty exists suggests that weather manipulation isn't just possible, but it could be used as a weapon. Imagine this: if you can control the weather, you could unleash devastating droughts on an enemy, create floods to disrupt their infrastructure, or trigger a hurricane to wipe out a military base. It's a terrifying prospect, but one that military strategists have thought about for decades. And we know weather modification was already used in the Vietnam War. Operation Popeye was a cloud seeding operation by the U.S. military to extend the monsoon season over enemy supply routes, making them impassable. This operation proved that controlling the weather, at least to some extent, was not only possible but effective. Let's talk about some real-world events that conspiracy theorists believe could be linked to weather manipulation. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 is one of them. Some claim that the strength and path of the hurricane were unnatural, possibly influenced by government-controlled weather modification. Then there's the 2010 Haiti earthquake, where similar theories surfaced, alleging that HAARP may have been involved. But these are just theories, right? There's no solid evidence, or is tea air? While it's impossible to definitively say that these disasters were man-made, it's also hard to ignore the sheer number of patents, military experiments, and strange coincidences surrounding these events. At the very least, it raises some questions about the extent to which governments are able to control or manipulate natural phenomena. Today, companies like China's Weather Modification Bureau openly admit to using cloud seeding techniques to control rain and reduce smog. The 2008 Beijing Olympics were widely reported to have used weather modification to ensure clear skies during the event. But what's next? Will governments be able to prevent hurricanes, stop floods, or even manipulate climate change? And more importantly, if they can control the weather, should they? Imagine a world where one nation could control the global climate to suit its own needs, creating disasters for its enemies and ensuring prosperity at home. It sounds like the plot of a dystopian novel, but is it really that far off? So, can the government control the weather? The patents, military experiments, and real-world applications suggest that it's not just possible, it's happening. But whether it's being used to help humanity or for more nefarious purposes is still up for debate. As we look to the future, we have to ask ourselves, how much control do we want over nature, and what are the consequences of wielding that power? In the end, whether you believe these theories or not, one thing is clear: the weather may not be as natural as we once thought. If you found this episode interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And remember, stay weird,